Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, how you doing? Welcome to the program. Hopefully you're doing well. You are ready for the program. We have computer and technology news for the entire segment. If you'd like to check that out, then hey, you should definitely tune in to IRN first and foremost, and second most, twitch.tv/Computer America, or find us on YouTube, podcasts, wherever, all those kinds of things and more. So, before we get started, computeramerica.com, everything that I just mentioned and more, including articles. We are going through some back-end stuff. I never knew it would be so complicated to update PHP, but here we are. That should be up and running, so the website should be, as I am to understand it, 4 times faster to load. Our website was never very bulky or clunky to begin with, but hey, we'll take it. We have that and more. Let's see, articles, reviews, shows, things like that. Links in the show notes. If you're ever wondering how do I figure out what the heck Ben is talking about, because of course you can hear him, but to actually go see it yourself, do it yourself, is an entirely different thing, and that's where Computer America will come in handy. After the show, we'll post the show notes, links to everything in the show notes. Now, with that being said, everyone, I hope that you're having a great day, and let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. Here we go. So today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Computer America, and I think our first one that we're going to tackle, and we have a lot of these, a lot of different stories, everything from consumer to the strange, the weird, and updates, product reviews. Computer and technology news segments is just dedicated to whatever is trending, whatever is latest, and hey, we go through the news so that you don't have to. Let's go ahead and start with, how about, let's see, I think, here we go. Kaspersky. And I think this one is funny because, you hear criminals don't always have to be the smartest. And lucky for us, in this case, they weren't. Kaspersky finds an Uzbekistan hacking operation because the group used Kaspersky antivirus. You heard that right. And for those of you who don't know, Kaspersky Labs, friends of the show, they've been on the show many times. Like, Kaspersky Labs is the one that does all of their research, and it does looks for any kind of new viruses. They're the ones that make the definitions. They're the one that really sets up the antivirus sector and, the side of the company. They're very good at what they do. Now, looks like they're so good that they were able to catch people who even use their own products. Interesting. They said that a new threat actor tied to Uzbekistan State Security Services has been unmasked by a threat researcher at Kaspersky Labs. Very cool. And by the way, this article coming to us from Ars Technica. This is by Mr. Sean Gallagher, saying that, they're saying that unmasking wasn't very hard to do since Kim Zetter reports for Vice, the government group used Kaspersky antivirus software. That's right, it's a government group, so not even just rogue hackers in someone's basement. No, this was the State Security Service. Not good. They used Kaspersky antivirus software, which sent binaries of the malware it was developing back to Kaspersky for analysis. Uzbekistan has not been known for having a cyber espionage capability, but the Uzbek SSS, which is again the State Security Service, clearly had a big budget, and according to Kaspersky Labs, the group went to 2 Israeli companies to buy those capabilities. And unfortunately for the group, it also didn't buy any sort of operational security know-how along with the exploits that it used. The group, which was labeled Sandcat, was discovered by researchers in October 2018, so it's been about a year. The discovery was triggered when a previously identified malware downloader called ChainShot, a tool used by groups attributed to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, had been discovered on an infected computer somewhere in the Middle East. But this ChainShot Trojan was connected to a different command and control network than previous versions that were, previous versions, and was a different exploit to initially install. Which is really how these, just a quick runner or a quick refresher course for anyone out there, that's how these operations usually operate. They will look for what has happened in the past, because most malware out there that is generated, you hear the number all the time. There are thousands of new variations of malware being developed every single day, and really what that means is that they are moved from different servers. They use different programs. They use, they install different executables. Like, they change just minute parts of the threat, because as soon as it's seen in the wild, as soon as Kaspersky or Norton, if they're still a thing, or Avast, take your pick of whatever antivirus software you may have out there, as soon as one of them catches wind of something happening, they then have what's called a definition, and they take an identifying attribute of that hack, of in this case ChainShot, which was a malware downloader. They take a just like a little snippet, and if it detects that particular snippet, it knows to block that application, block that executable, and alert the user. Hackers and hacking groups all the time change just a little bit, and it's a completely different thing, and Kaspersky Labs has to stay on top of it just like they do. Very reactionary, but they're getting better at it. Now, they said that this ChainShot Trojan was connected to a different command and control network than previous versions, and was being used to exploit to initially install. As the Kaspersky researchers looked for other infected machines with the malware and explored the infrastructure behind it, it found 3 more zero-day exploits, and zero-day, by the way, meaning exploits that had not been discovered, meaning that there is zero chance that on day 1 you have a chance to be defended from this. So zero-day exploits used by the same group. Kaspersky reported the exploits and were each burned in turn as patches were deployed. The same exploits were also used by the United Arab Emirates and the Saudi groups. So, Kaspersky Global Research and an analyst for the team, Brian Bartholomew, told Zetter, "I'd call Sandcat my zero-day Pez dispenser because it seemed like every time we'd find another zero-day and patch it, they'd come up with another one. And the group was burning through them like nothing, which tells me one thing: they have a ton of money." So often you hear about these zero-day exploits. Ideally, a white hat hacker or an ethical hacker or a security researcher will find the zero-day exploit. And again, that means that there's no record of it anywhere. This is day 0 of it being capable of infecting someone. And whenever people who are not on the good side of crime find these things, they usually put them up on the dark web or other services, and they'll sell them. They'll say, "Hey, for $1,000, you can get access to any of these providers." And hey, zero-day exploits, they exist. They're out there. They're just not widely used and distributed because they're very valuable. And so for them to have multiple zero-day exploits, and then for them to be compromised immediately, and then for them to know that, and then on top of that kind of say, well, we have more waiting in the wings, just tells you that this is not someone who somehow got their hands on a singular zero-day exploit. No, this is a group that is able to continuously procure them. Now, every time the Uzbek SSS exploit supplier would send new malware on a USB drive, someone would stick that into a computer running antivirus software and transfer it. just as Kaspersky software did with the National Security Agency Equation Group malware, that the National Security Agency, or the NSA, tailored access operation developer, brought home with him to study. The antivirus uploaded the new binaries to the server for evaluation, and the machine that those uploads came from was tied to a domain registration data and a court case to the Uzbekistan SSS. As I said, criminals, and don't get me wrong, even if it's state-sponsored, even if the government has sanctioned it, you are breaking crimes in other parts of the world. These guys are still criminals. They're criminals working for the government, but still criminals. When criminals are stupid, such as to the point where they are looking to compromise other people's systems, but then at the same time, they're running anti-malware because, hey, they don't want to be compromised themselves. And then that anti-malware destroys or compromises every one of their zero-day exploits. Again, this was back in October 2018, but I found that to be the epitome of irony that someone could be that bad. And as the article said, just they did not get any kind of ability to handle this kinds of information, securely. So I thought that was pretty funny, and there you go. Again, link in the show notes. So that's the first one. Pretty funny. Let's go ahead and do something a little mind-blowing. This coming to us from Fast Company. And I always like to keep track of this number because it's, although this article is quite a bit out of date, and we're going, let's see. So actually, it's so out of date, I don't even know if I should actually do this because it's, I just now realized that it's actually from October 4th of last year, not October 3rd of this year. Let's see. Let's see if there's any kind of, so same information, but let's see if we can get any kind of updated metrics on this. And so it looks like the most recent update to this would be June 21st, 2019. So June, July, August, September. So it's still a couple months out of date. And it had to do with the amount of information that Netflix utilizes to push out their content. Last year, as per the article, it was about 15%. Other streaming services such as YouTube took up 11%. Miscellaneous video embedding took up 13%. And the reason I like to keep track of this, we're not going to dig into the article, but essentially, let's just say that the reason I like to keep track of it is because Netflix used to be really, really clunky. They used to take up 30% of all internet traffic globally. Like, they were such a strain and such a stress on networks that you could definitely notice as people got home, they turned on streaming Netflix, and it was not optimized to deliver that kind of content. You could see where most people's internet access was actually restricted, somewhere between like the 6 p.m. to 8, 9, 10 p.m. Range. You may recall a couple years ago how your internet connection would actually slow down quite substantially just to be able to handle everyone's request for Netflix. Looks like that they have improved on that. Everything from better backend to just streamlining, and of course making those deals with carriers such as Verizon. Making deals with the providers of the network itself, which is a whole sidetrack onto net neutrality, but making deals off to the side with those who actually own the network, they were able to get that down and get that much more efficient. So we're actually not going to do that article again because, well, it's just not timely. So really no interest in doing that. Let's go ahead and continue on here. How about we talk about Uber? And this time, surprisingly, it's not going to be about sexual harassment, weird boy cultures, or how they are fighting with local governments. No, this is actually going to be about their helicopter service. You say, what? Yeah, their helicopter service, they have been working on it. You may not have noticed because odds are you probably aren't going to take a $200 Uber ride just over the skyline. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Probably not on a regular, maybe not on a regular basis, but they're working on it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Uber's $200 trips to JFK, which is the JFK International Airport, are now available to everyone. And of course, just don't expect the service to necessarily save you time getting to and from Manhattan. So after a limited launch this past summer, Uber plans to open up its John F. Kennedy International Airport helicopter shuttle to more people. Starting today, you won't need an Uber Rewards member to check out Uber Copter, and that's according to Reuters. And let's go ahead and actually skip on over here to this article from Reuters, saying that ride-hailing company Uber Technology is taking to the air in New York City, where users will, with a little cash to spare, will soon be able to book a helicopter flight to John F. Kennedy International Airport through the app. And again, this is something very, very different from the company. So the company announced that starting today, Uber made the feature available to its premium members in June. So this is no longer you need to be premium. It's anyone who wants to actually do it. The roughly 8-minute flight will cost between $200 and $225 per person and include ground transportation on either side of the trip. Passengers can bring along a small suitcase and have to watch a safety video before takeoff. I definitely recall a helicopter going down in the water and people not being able to get out of their seats. Either that was poor training or the apparatuses were poorly made, but either way, safety is paramount, so be careful. But the flights are operated by Heli Flight Shares, a licensed company, and Uber's prices roughly compare to those that the competitors offering helicopter rides to JFK. So this isn't a new idea. There are other people doing it, but Uber is willing to do it through their app. That's the exciting part. For now, Uber rides shuttling passengers to the airport or to the heliport in Manhattan are only available from the southern tip of the island. Uber says that the service is intended to reduce travel time, but when Reuters tried Copter on Wednesday, and by the way, that's the name of the service, Copter, on Wednesday, a trip from its Midtown office to the airport took 70 minutes, including a subway ride downtown and 2 Uber rides to and from the heliport. That's about the same time it would have taken a regular taxi in moderate traffic. But hey, you get a helicopter ride, and you get to spend 10 times more. So there's that. That's cool, right? An Uber spokeswoman on Thursday said that the trip was not a realistic part of the commercial rollout, as the Copter option is only shown to customers located in the geofenced lower Manhattan area. So they're only targeting it to very specific people. But Uber might gradually expand the Manhattan pickup zone so it might expand the pickup zone, and of course that is the head of the Uber's aerial ride-hailing program. With concerns mounting over congestion and vehicle emissions, Uber hopes that the New York City Copter project will pave the way for Uber Air, a taxi service of electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, which is certainly coming. You don't hear much about that. The idea that you can have electric, essentially drones, go down, pick up 4 to 6 people, take off, set down somewhere else, and just shuttle people around as opposed to clogging up roads and things like that. Seems very futuristic, seems very out of reach, but for places such as New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dallas, it may make all the sense in the world to be able to ferry people by drone, which is definitely what they're heading towards. So there's that one. Good luck with that, Uber. Best of luck. Let's go ahead and continue on. And let's see. So how about we talk about Bose? And unfortunately, it's a product that I was not really in tune with. I had not, unfortunately, heard about the Sleepbuds. But looks like it didn't matter because they are actually discontinuing them and recalling them. So if you have a pair of Sleepbuds, if you're saying, well, Ben, I use those every single night. Well, turns out they're in for a recall and you can get your money back if you send them back in. So this is an article from Engadget. Bose discontinues its Sleepbuds due to battery issues. That's right, this is by Chris Holt, saying that Bose is discontinuing its Sleepbuds it designed to mask noise and help people get a better night's rest. In an email to customers, it cites various battery issues as the reason, saying that they're honoring the $249 warranty and allowing anyone who bought Sleepbuds to return them by the end of the year for a full refund. The company quickly sold out of the trial batch of Sleepbuds that it was offering through Indiegogo back in 2017, and it formally put the earbuds on sale in the US and Canada in June of last year. However, Bose said that customers complained that the Sleepbuds would not fully charge, power down completely, or suffered from both. It expected that the software and firmware updates would fix the problems, but the battery struggles persisted. They said that we learned that while the battery we chose functions safely, it doesn't work as consistently or predictably as it should meet our standards. So it looks like they went with batteries that were probably very safe because obviously if people are sleeping with these things in their ear for 8 hours a day, these batteries have to be very, very safe. Like they are going to get more use out of these Sleepbuds than any regular pair of headphones. So they worked very, very safely, but they also had to work very long, and unfortunately, they probably had to be very cheap. So I'm betting the quality of the battery somewhere was a breakdown. And while it discontinued Sleepbuds for now, Bose says it's still committed to making the vision for them a reality. As such, it's going back to the drawing board and essentially saying, hey, we're going to replace the battery in these things. So if you have these things, full-blown recall, get your money back. They won't be supporting them anymore. They already discontinued them in the shop. And really, when these things happen, I mean, even if they're working perfectly for you, don't bother sticking around. Don't bother just saying, hey, at least mine work, lucky me. No, eventually they will no longer be supported. There will be an update that you need that you cannot get, and there's just no point to own those things. So return them, return them, return them. Let's see. So continuing on here, other articles. Let's go ahead and talk about. Let's go ahead and talk about this one. And this is probably someone's worst nightmare. This is from Ars Technica, and it's a little on the tech side, a lot on the medical side, and it has to do with fertility clinics. I don't think I have to explain the reason or the purpose behind a fertility clinic, but check this one out. After discovering that he has at least 17 kids, man sues fertility clinic. Happy birthday. You have 17 new kids that you never knew you had, saying that some go to the same school as the kids he has with his wife. That's crazy. So an Oregon doctor filed a $5 million lawsuit Wednesday against a fertility clinic in Oregon Health and Science University for being incredibly irresponsible with his donation. The doctor alleges that the clinic used his 1989 sperm donation to father at least 17 children, some of who live in his area, despite him making an agreement with the clinic that the time that his sperm would be used for no more than 5 children, all born to women living out of state. I've never done this. I've never gone through and talked to. I guess that might be standard, that you can, kind of designate how many kids you would like, coming from your donation. And I guess he stipulated, again, that they come out of state, but didn't work out that way. He said that he learned that at least 2 of his unexpected biological children conceived through the clinic have attended the same schools as well as church and social activities as some of the children he has with his wife. And he says that, quote, The idea that you can produce that many children from one donor and throw them all in the same region, there has got to be some reforms. I can't control an industry, but I can sure stand up and say, this isn't cool. Which I can see why. Fertility clinics have no reason to tell you who actually uses your sperm. I can see why he would want any other kids coming from his donation being out of state, so that there wouldn't be any chance whatsoever at any kind of potential mix-up in dating, I would assume, would be one of the big ones. That would be very bad. And for them to have done 17, and again, at least 2 of the other children were very, very close to him. Very close. Same school, same church, same social groups. So the doctor said that he only began to learn of his numerous offspring in March 2018. So again, he gave the donation in 1989, and he didn't hear of anything until 2018, almost 30 years later. When 2 of his biological daughters contacted him, the 2 women said that they were able to identify him with the help of Ancestry.com, ding, 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 as well as specific and substantive information from the clinic. So they discovered, prompted him to send his DNA to Ancestry.com, which led him to uncover 15 other children. Most of them live in Oregon, and he now met 3 of them. In the press conference, he noted that there may be even more children, saying that they treat any allegations of misconduct with gravity, and that it deserves so much and so forth. And and so it's just really, really weird that would happen. So they said that it feels that so Dr. Cleary said that it's so they said that they're going to work on it. He said that he only donated his sperm 30 years ago after the clinic solicited him and his fellow first-year medical school classmates, offering $40 for a donation. So he even did this, again, not even for himself, but for others. There you have it. 17 kids. He signed on for 5. He fully expected 5, but 17 was the number that he ended up with. And again, what's worse is that they were actually super, super close. I don't know. It's a very tricky. It seems like a very tricky situation that they put him in. Note that I used the adjective tricky and not sticky. So there you go. Let's go ahead and, so about 2 minutes before we go to commercial break here, just for a minute, but lots of other articles. Let's go ahead and hop on over to, there's just one about Intel. It's very in-depth. It's very medically, very medically oriented, so I don't want to, kind of dive in just before the break. Let's talk about, okay, this one, something that I hear so often, even from, the old host of the show, Craig Crossman, so many people, kind of give me the same argument that just like with the Industrial Revolution, we thought that horse and buggy drivers were going to be out of a job and there would be no more jobs. Once cars came onto the road, once factories, started to produce goods at such a high rate, jobs would just be lost forever. Back then, no, new jobs were created. That's a fact, which is a good thing. You don't want people sitting around idly. But here's the problem. We're heading into another era of great job displacement. Artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics. Those 3 combined are going to cut a lot of jobs. And as much as you can say, well, don't worry, more jobs will be created after the fact. The problem is, no, because automation and artificial intelligence are so good at what they do, they're already taking away jobs at a staggering rate. So when we come back, everyone, we're going to get into this. This one coming to us from CBC, and everyone will be right back. More Computer America right after this. Everyone, stay tuned.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're just joining us, we're doing computer and technology news for the hour. We have a ton of stories behind us and a ton of stories ahead of us. Check us out wherever podcasts are heard. You can hear today's show in its entirety, rebroadcast, be that Apple, be that Google, be that iHeartRadio, so on and so forth. Give us a listen. But thank you for tuning into IRN. Here we go. Let's go ahead and continue on. And we are just about to get into this article about automation and potential job loss. This is something that, again, as much as I talk about it, I think it really needs to be reemphasized that, hey, technology is displacing jobs way, way faster, and it will only accelerate as time goes on. These replacements are not coming fast enough. So, a worrying new report has just added a credible voice to the idea that computers are coming for our jobs. And they said that the clients-only Wells Fargo report has not been made public, but those who have seen it quote the 225-page document as saying that technology will slash 10% of banking jobs over the next decade. Banking jobs. So, yeah, you can see where artificial intelligence really handles well with that. There's not a lot of creativity. There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of creativity. But at the same time, there's a lot of variables. So you can't easily, these jobs are not already automated because, percentages, time, amounts that people need, they want to transfer, they want to purchase, they want to put into something. Those kinds of transactions are all very circumstantial, but they're hard. Once someone says, hey, I want to put $10,000 here, $10,000 has to go there. It's it's a very drag and drop kind of operation. So it's not good for automation, but it is good for artificial intelligence mixed with automation. Saying that while the number of North American manufacturing jobs shrinks, service sector jobs, including in banking, have been the mainstay of job creation. That may be about to change. Technological efficiencies will result in the biggest reduction in headcount across the U.S. banking industry in history. saying that tech forecast to destroy more than 200,000 U.S. banking jobs. In Financial Times quotes the report's author as saying that the job cuts will be greatest transfer from labor to capital of all time and will represent, quote, a golden age of banking efficiency, end quote. So a couple things here. The first reaction, maybe we can't fire 200,000 people. 200,000 people can't just lose their jobs. But the flip side of that is that, well, they can and they probably should. Technology needs to continue to do what it does best. If the only reason you have for something not happening with technology is that, hey, we don't like what's going to happen. Like, if it's better in every other way, if it's automated, if it's, simpler, if it really will usher in this golden age of efficiency, it's going to happen one way or another. You can't just stop it because people are going to lose their jobs. But hopefully that doesn't mean that just the entirety of that capital, as I said, this is the greatest transfer of labor to capital of all time, which means that, hey, once they implement these systems, they no longer have to pay 200,000 people's bills, paychecks, insurance, training. They don't have to pay any of that, and all that money gets redirected to the shareholders, to the company itself. With such remarks, the report by well-known banking analyst Mike Mayo seems aimed at people like bank shareholders who yesterday lost money on the markets. But for bank employees and those worried where the jobs come from, the reports from Wells Fargo and the U.S. banking giant famous for its stagecoach origins and for its 2016 account fraud scandal, the news may not be so good. So let's go ahead and dive into this real quick. The article goes on for a bit, and we're going to highlight this, but let's just say the essence of the report is a huge investment in technology by the financial industry, estimated at about $150 billion annually, including in artificial intelligence, is paying off. It means that new job cuts would allow the bank to continue to find efficiencies well beyond the ATM banking and bank branch closures familiar to Canadians that helped banks repeatedly increase profits. There, obviously, if before you needed, a dozen tellers over the course of a week, but now thanks to ATMs, you only need 8 across a week. There you go. You just saved a third of your workforce, or, you reduced your workforce by a third. That is a lot of savings. Frontline branch employees have been thinned out, but the new job cuts are expected to be spread out across branches and head offices. Call centers will also lose jobs as well, and the loss of relatively low-paying jobs in customer service is a reminder that low wages don't prevent businesses from cutting staff. Something opponents of minimum wage increases sometimes suggest, with half of a business's outlays going to employment costs, reducing workers, whatever their wage level, remains one of the only practical ways of increasing profits. Yeah, so that gets into economics and policy and politics to some extent, but let's just say technology knows no bounds. They will take low-wage jobs, medium-wage jobs, high-wage jobs, anything that can be automated to a certain extent. It's not really so much how much money will it save. If it cuts a job, if it automates something and it's going to make money in the long run, it doesn't even have to have a very immediate return. That job is undoubtedly going away. So there you go. The article goes on for a bit more. It's pretty doom and gloom. Essentially, if you're in banking, over the next couple of years, it's going to get pretty dicey. This is, it's not going to sweep in one day and just say there is never going to be another teller. There are never going to be another person overseeing transfers and working in banks. It's just that the number required is going to shrink by about 200,000. So, and again, that's just the start. Just a sign of things to come. So as I said before, this one seemed a little heady, but we'll go ahead and try to break it down as best we can. This next one comes to us from Engadget, and it's about Intel. Hey, Intel. Intel wants to use artificial intelligence. No, not to remove baking jobs. That was the last story. Keep up. But to use AI to reconnect damaged spinal nerves. Interesting. Saying that its team up could eventually restore movement for paralyzed people. Saying that artificial intelligence used in medicine could soon extend to one of the world's toughest challenges, helping the paralyzed regain movement. Intel and Brown University have started to work with a DARPA-backed intelligent spine interface project that would use artificial intelligence to restore movement and bladder control for those with serious spinal cord injuries. Very important steps. The 2-year effort will have scientists capture motor and sensory signals from the spinal cord, while surgeons will implant electrodes on both ends of the injury to create an intelligent bypass. From there, the neural networks running on Intel's tools will hopefully learn how to communicate motor commands through the bypass and restore function to lost or severed nerves. And it seems crazy, but it happens all the time, where the signal is still being generated in your brain. Let's say you lost control of your foot. The signal is still going to your brain. It's almost as if the person still has complete control. It's just there's nothing coming back from it, and there's no sensation that can really traverse, or there's no signal that can traverse wherever the breakdown is. Like they said, they're hoping that intelligent bypass is something that the artificial intelligence of this implant will be able to essentially catch those signals coming from the brain, and a doctor would be able to, I guess, kind of assist in this, but the artificial intelligence would do kind of the heavy work, and say that, hey, I'm going to, you need to try to wiggle your toe, and you're going to think as hard as you can about wiggling your toe. That sends constant signals to that artificial intelligence through that bypass, saying this is the signal that when you receive this signal, wiggle the toe. And then the doctor on the other end will potentially take his hand and wiggle your big toe. And that sensation will hopefully send signals the other way. It will send, kind of that receiving information, and they'll do little experiments like that over and over and over again. Each toe, each leg, each ligament, each muscle, and they're going to hopefully over time have that artificial intelligence, as soon as it receives that signal to wiggle your toe, it will then activate that bypass, send the signal to your foot, over the bypass by whatever broken nerve you may have, and then, of course, the toe would then send a signal back to the brain, saying, hey, we received something. It's the next best thing than to repairing the nerves themselves, which is infinitely harder to actually, have a donor and implant these things, and hopefully don't get them rejected, have them tied together, and hopefully everything works one-to-one. These little bundle of fibers, that's incredibly delicate, and if this works, this could really help a lot of people. So the initial interface will use external computing hardware to interpret spine signals. In the long term, they would like to implant the system to make the connection. Yeah, so this is something of a moonshot. There's no guarantee that they will end with a surefire solution for paralysis. It should be useful even then, though, saying that they want to uncover new knowledge about spinal cords and accelerate innovation towards treatment. If it's not the remedy that they seek, it should represent a big step in the right direction. So, kudos to Intel. I mean, really, a company like that, they don't have to do much more than to really try their best at making the best processor they can, or making the best mobile processor. Like, Intel doesn't have to do anything more than what their hardware demands. But they do. Intel as a company really does take a step out and try to assist other programs and other parts of technological innovation. So I always like that about Intel. Speaking of technological innovation, how about we go ahead and touch on Pixel 4 real quick? Again, I'm super looking forward to this phone. I want to get my hands on one so bad. Google, if you're listening, Pixel 4, please. But this next article in Gadget Again, Rachel England, Google's Pixel 4 will feature something called a Pixel Neural Core. This is another leak, and at this point, don't worry, there's no such thing as leaks now. Like, I feel zero remorse into leaking, quote unquote, this information, because odds are they're doing it themselves. This is just a constant stream of free publicity, which is really what it is. Now, according to the sheet, we're looking at a Snapdragon 855 processor, 6 gigs RAM, 90 Hz display. Marked differences between the 4 and the 4 XL are the screen size, where 5.7 inch to 6.3 inch. Much bigger phone. And a battery life of 3,700 milliamps. Both offer a choice of 64 or 128 gigs of storage. Under the processor information, both have labeled as the Pixel Neural Core, which appears to be the new name for the Pixel Vision Core, the Pixel Visual Core, which was found in the Pixel 3. This is an imaging chipset that is responsible for the excellent low-light camera, so we can probably expect even greater imaging abilities with the new handset. And if you're watching the video portion, they have a leak from 9to5 Google. Essentially, 16 megapixel telephoto lens, 12 megapixel dual pixel camera, motion sense, face unlock, Titan security module, and more. You can definitely check that out. So interesting. There appears to be changes to what comes in the box, and yeah, we're not going to cover that. But the official launch event will be October 15th, and you can definitely check that out here on Computer America. So, let's see. So there's that one. Again, looking forward to it, and it looks like low light camera should be getting even better. Now, some of these other articles that we have here, how about we discuss the Surface Duo? And this is a phone that I'm not excited for, and I really just did not keep up to tabs with. The Microsoft Surface Duo, Microsoft, yes, that one, is getting back in the phone game. And I know you're all screaming, no, don't do it. Well, looks like they're doing it. But at least they're doing it with Android now. They're still not pushing Windows Mobile OS. So that's good. Microsoft surprised us all with the Surface Duo this week. It's the long-awaited Surface phone that has been rumored for years. In a further surprise, it's running Google's Android operating system. It's designed to be smaller sibling to the Surface Neo, a dual-screen device that was unveiled yesterday, running Windows 10X. So the Surface Duo has two 5.6-inch displays, and if you recall, we just talked about the Google Pixel phone. The maximum phone for that, or I should say the regular Pixel 4 is sporting a 5.6-inch display. So this thing is literally two standard smartphones squished together like a book and on a hinge. So of course they fold out to an 8.3-inch overall screen, and it's just 4.8 millimeters thin. So super thin. If you're watching the video portion, again, you can see it here. It's actually a pretty cool device, but it's different. Let's go ahead and say that it's different. The author got a chance to take a closer look at the Surface Duo this week, and his first impression was simple, saying that it's so much smaller in person and it appears in photos. Yeah, that appears in photos. He wasn't allowed to play around with it or the device, but he was able to slip it into his pocket and walk out the door with it. No, he didn't do that. But he was able to, I guess, wear it, play with it, and open it up, that kind of thing. He says it looks and feels like a miniature tablet that's also a phone. Microsoft doesn't consider this a phone, though, saying, I feel the phone is such a limiting word, and they say that, well, smartphone. And he says that I don't even know what that means. And then phablet, which is phone and tablet put together. Not a fabulous tablet, but a phablet. I'm not sure what that is. I think if you're going to create a new category, you're going to try to change things, push things forward. The minute you put it in a box, I think you're lost. So he's been pretty resistant to that, not because it doesn't act like a great phone, but because he doesn't just want a phone. He doesn't want it seen as just a phone, which justified, and if nothing else, it kind of hedges the bets against the reviewers, saying, wow, this is the worst phone that Microsoft has ever put out, which I think would be hard to do. But saying that this is the worst phone that they put out. But at the same time, if they say, well, it's not really a phone, even though it operates as a phone, it's not really a phone. That kind of protects the product from getting really bad or lukewarm reviews if they can say, well, it's a very nice foldable tablet. Might give them a little bit more leeway in their review and in customers' minds. So they said that the phone or tablet debate aside, the hardware isn't really the star of the show. It's extremely surprising to see Microsoft launch an Android and Windows powered device that are dual screen and share the same design. Microsoft is using Android on the Surface Duo, which might sound surprising, but it's realistically the company's only choice if it wants a pocket-sized device that can replace your phone. And by the way, I really do like this new thing, because if you're looking at it, clamshell, when it's closed, it's protected, nothing's going to happen to it. But then it can fold completely open, kind of like a book that's kind of folded back in on itself. And that's how it operates as a phone. Then it looks like almost any other standard phone. And then, of course, you can fold it out, flat. So he admits that that's precisely why the Surface Duo runs Android. Well, because those are the apps you want, because there's hundreds of thousands of apps, and you want them. The CEO talked about it, and it's about meeting our customers where they are, going where they are going to be, and not trying to make a new thing that everyone has to then flock to. It's pretty simple, like literally you need the apps. I'm glad that they learned the lesson, because Windows Phone, that was probably the lesson that they needed to learn. Same thing with their Edge browser and their whole Chromium, kind of redesign. So with that being said, the article goes on here for quite a while, and I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We'll include a link in the show notes if you want to check this thing out. But just know, Microsoft has a new phone and a new tablet. They look pretty cool. They're definitely different. Samsung with a foldable screen. This is not that. This is two screens on a hinge that are right next to each other. There is a bezel. It is not one continuous surface like you would see in the Samsung Galaxy Fold, but it's borrowing from the same kind of idea. I'm interested. I'm interested that Microsoft, of all companies, is willing to try something like this. So there you have it. Okay, so there's that article. Let's see, we have time for like one or two more. How about we discuss... Let's go ahead and talk about this story. And as much as I like it, don't get me wrong, as much as I like it, I'm hoping this doesn't become a trend. So in my effort to make sure that this does not become a trend, I'm going to bring it up here on the show. A gentleman could not find his grandmother during Hurricane Maria until he flew his drone over her house. There you go. Saying that now developer Pedro Cruz has created a software platform to help victims of other natural disasters like Hurricane Dorian. And this is by Courtney Linder, Popular Mechanics. Don't often take stories from them. But check this out. Pedro Cruz didn't just live through the wreckage of Hurricane Maria left in his path in Puerto Rico in 2017. He watched the commotion in his hometown of San Juan by flying his drone overhead. Maria made landfall in the southwest part of the island around 8 p.m. Cruz recalls in an interview with Popular Mechanic. Once the storm subsided, about 20 hours later, he began his mission to find his grandmother. Since the infrastructure was completely decimated, and by that, trees, power lines, roads, all that kind of thing just destroyed, he had to check on her. And of course, no self-service to check on her. With just 1/4 tank of gas left in his car, he took a risk and drove 25 miles that it would take to locate her, saying that the road leading to her house was all flooded, He's a self-taught computer programmer, just 25 years old, saying, I had my drone and flew it to my grandmother's house. She heard the drone and waved out her window. She was all right. Aw, that's good. It's good to hear. So over 3 million different people were impacted by the Category 5 storm that, of course, hit Puerto Rico. They were promised aid that never came, so on and so forth. Not here to get into that. So a year later, he created Drone Aid, and this is where his next part of his project is leading. Saying Drone Aid, software that uses artificial intelligence powered by IBM Watson to detect and count SOS messages on the ground, fed by data live from drone feeds overhead. So after volunteering with one, and by the way, if you're watching the video portion, you can see a picture here of what one of those SOS messages would look like. After volunteering with one of the local nonprofits to provide aid to rural Puerto Ricans, crews first noticed the hand-drawn SOS messages seeking food and water, which got his wheels turning. How could he make sure helicopters wouldn't miss people left behind after disaster? And he said that his aha moment was a year later when IBM came to Puerto Rico. He said that the goal was to create a solution for disaster recovery, and if there's a way that we can automatically assess the situation, we can save more people and do it very quickly. And of course, prioritize it because, before a hurricane like this, a lot of people are evacuated. A lot of people leave the country. They leave, everything behind, and they get out of there. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people choose not to do that. And really, we hope that everyone who has the ability to leaves, but not everyone does. And when you have instances such as that, to be able to automatically detect that this home has a person in it that needs food, water, and rescuing, that saves, let's say if there's a neighborhood of 30 houses, and you automatically know, due to these drones, due to IBM Watson, all that kind of thing, you know that only 4 out of 30 of these houses needs resources. That saves you from having to search, 26 other houses. That vastly increases the response time and the resources needed to provide care. It just helps everyone out there. So with that being said, he said that his drone is, he is trying to write SOS, and he's trying to get the drone to automatically detect. They're trying to detect SOS, and on top of that, he's also trying to get the drone to automatically identify the standardized humanitarian symbols, which I guess I had never really seen them. There are these blue signals here, everything from radioactive to medicine to water to food to weather to temperature. There are tons of these symbols, and hey, they're actually pretty easy to discern. Now the question is, how do you get them? Do people have to keep giant rollout posters that they can roll outside their house and have these, have the drone detect them? And then the drone would be able to say, okay, someone here needs food, water. Someone here needs food and medicine. Someone here just needs water. That kind of thing. Being able to do that quickly and effectively, I guess, is the name of the game. So he's still working on it. He's made it open source. Drone Aid is completely open source, and it's open for other developers to work on it. Those coders could create more nuanced app interface, or perhaps add new sensors to drones, like thermal imaging and LiDAR. So the sheer amount of contributors could at least make the current system more robust. He said that he also wants diversity of disaster. Right now, he's been through hurricanes, and that's what he's been working on. But what about other humanitarian crises? What about food, famine, drought, hurricane, earthquake, tornado, typhoon, landslide, terrorist attack, anything like that? What if you could have these drones go out, find people who are requesting aid, and do it very quickly? That's the important part. So, hey, very interesting article from Popular Mechanics. Again, we're going to go ahead and have a link to that in the article. I wish the best of luck to Mr. Cruz and what he's doing with that, and of course with IBM and Watson and their help with the project. Very, very interesting. And everyone in the chat room, you just now started getting really, you just started to wake up. But everyone, the music means that we're done. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Computer America. Be sure to check us out tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We should have another Computer America program for you. We'll let you know what it is. Just be sure to tune into IRN Live or the podcast video portion after after it's all done. Everyone, thank you. Until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.